Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 66th episode of ALSTROEPEDIA. Hello! Hi, how are you doing, guys? Hey. Yes, as you can see here, you already know what I'm gonna talk about tonight. The infamous submarine U-boat 65. I intended to bring more ghost ship stories tonight, but apparently one story of the submarine is long enough to cover for at least 45 minutes. Good evening everyone, and thank you for coming. And now, just sit down, get cozy, maybe get some blanket and warm drinks, and listen to this ghost story. SMUB65. Okay, so honestly, I couldn't find any pictures of UB65 or its sisters, but we got a picture of U-boat 148 that looks pretty identical to UB65 and its sisters. So if you guys are nerds for U-boats or submarines in general, you can see that UB65 actually had lots of sisters, like tens of them. I didn't count exactly like how many sisters it had, but at least 30 sisters, I guess. So many sisters. Okay. Anyway, okay, I'm just gonna pull the chat here so I can see you guys. Chat, come on. Over here, over here. Nah, now I can see you guys. Okay. So before we talk about the ghost story, we will talk a little bit about its history. Okay, so I believe by now you guys already understand that UB stands for U-boat and SM stands for submarine. Okay, by the way, I think I'm in the way here, so I'm just gonna scoot a little bit to the left. Okay, like this. Hopefully I didn't cover any of the text. Or wait a second, let me just tie my hair. There you go. Okay. I'm not covering any text anymore, right? Okay, why you? Just like if you have been to okay, so if you're familiar with train, so I believe you guys know train, right? In Germany, they have S-Bahn and U-Bahn. So U-Bahn is for the subway, and S-Bahn is for the train that goes up the ground, on top of the ground, you know. So S-Bahn is for the train that goes on the surface, and U-Bahn is the one that are the ones that goes underground, basically subway. Okay, so therefore U-boat, because it can get under the water. I hope that explains. I hope that explains. Okay, you understand? Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's talk about the history of this U-boat. Okay, what is it? So UB65 is a German U-boat, a German submarine, class type UB3 that was used in World War I. It was ordered on May 20th, 1916, built in Hamburg, so there's actually a specific a specific place in Hamburg, but you can look it up for yourself. And was launched on June 26, 1917. So it took about a little bit more than a year for it to be built. Okay, so in case you're not familiar with U-boat, they are naval submarines used to attack warships with torpedoes. But if you guys want to talk more about U-boat more specifically, maybe we can do it on another day. Okay, so basically they are submarines and they are being used to attack warships with torpedoes. They are pretty common. They are commonly used during World War I and World War II. Okay, so UB-65 sailed on 6 war patrols. Okay, how to? I'm sorry for my pronunciation. So you understand that, right? Patrols. And it also successfully sunk 6 merchant ships and damaged 6 more merchant ships. Did you see the 666 here? Nothing remarkable is being noted down here. I just want to point that out. Okay, 6 war patrols, sunk 6 merchant ships, damaged 6 more. 666. It's already getting scary. Okay. Oh, by the way, she also successfully torpedoed HMS Arbutus, which is an Ankusa class sloop. Okay, so ships in this class, they served as convoy protection ships, and they built to look like merchant ships, to be used as Q ships or decoy ships. So what do these decoy ships do? Basically, they're disguised as merchant ships. You can say that they are basically heavily armed merchant ships, but the weapons are concealed. Yeah, basically they are warships in disguise. The Anchusa class. And yeah, UB-65 is pretty successful at that. Okay, next. Anyways, the reason why UB-65 is really famous for being haunted is because so many accidents happened to the people who were aboard this vessel. Therefore, she's considered an unlucky vessel. Scary, huh? Okay, like I said before, she had lots of sisters, right? You can see UB-64, UB-63, UB-62, UB-66, UB-67, and there wasn't any of the other sisters that got as many haunted stories just like this one. I believe one of the sisters is really successful. So, compared to the other sisters, UB-65 is still considered successful because it sunk a lot of ships. Because I checked the others, I checked her other sisters, they only sunk 2 or 3 ships in average. But I think the most successful one is UB-64, if I believe. Yeah, 64 sunk like 27 plus 2 plus 4 plus 1 ship. Okay, so that's on a whole different level. But yeah, UB-64 is considered to be quite successful at sinking or damaging the enemy's vessels. Okay, so let me tell you why she's considered an unlucky vessel in more detail. So, from the time when she was constructed, there were 5 men killed and several others injured from a series of accidents. The crew were reluctant to sail the submarine, but it was desperately needed for the war. It was really needed for the war. Of course. I think at that time U-boat was considered a really advanced technology because it can shoot torpedoes, you know? Okay. So, a week after its launch... Oh wait, I got it listed. Okay, I got it listed. I will tell you the list of the disasters or accidents that happened. Okay, so yeah, just like I said, it was rushed to service despite so many accidents that happened during its building and the first weeks of its launch. Okay, so let's see. Here I have the disasters or the accidents listed here. Okay, the first one. So, during construction, 5 men killed and several others injured. Okay, next. A week after its launch, a girder or a support steel beam that you can see on big warehouses. You know, yang kayak itu loh, kalau kalian ke gudang-gudang yang gede banget gitu di pelabuhan, kan di atasnya tuh, di ceilingnya kayak sebelum atapnya itu kan suka banyak ini kan, kayak palang-palang besi gitu. Nah itu girder support steel beam, jadi kayak besi penyangga lah ya bahasa Indonesia ya, besi penyangga. So a week after its launch, a girder or a support steel beam was swinging and crashed to the floor, killing 2 men. One died from the impact. Another one died at the hospital. So the other people, a lot of people heard his screaming and they rushed to save him, and they desperately tried really hard to pull him out from under the beam because it was basically crushing his lower body. That's why he couldn't get out. He couldn't go out by himself. But it is said that only about 2 hours after he arrived at the hospital, he passed away due to his injuries. Okay, next. Next accident. It happened only a few weeks after this. 3 workers went into the engine room to add a few adjustments, and they were heard by the other crew that they are coughing and crying for help. A nearby worker who heard them tried to rescue them and found out that the door was jammed. By the time the door was opened, these 3 men were found dead, killed by the poisonous fume from the engine. There was no known reason for how the fume escaped, because they didn't do any detailed investigation, because just like what I said before, it was really needed. Desperately needed, so it was rushed to service. Okay. Next, this one, the 4th story. During the boat's test for seaworthiness, jadi kayak dites apakah layak berlayar gitu ya. The captain asked one of the crew to close the deck gun doors, but according to the bridge watch, this man jumped overboard for no apparent reason. Well, he might have just got swept overboard, but why would the bridge watch lie about that? Right? It's weird. Strange. Yeah, there might be issues back then because it was a lot of years back, right? I think it was one of the very first high technology submarine at that time. Yeah, there were bound to be issues, but yeah. What makes them really believe that this submarine was cursed? Because the other sisters, they didn't got this much of a problem, this much of accident during the build, during the test, or during its service time. Only this one. I believe the other sisters might also have some problems, but apparently from the record, they didn't. I mean, I couldn't find a record where they got as many problems as this one. This is the one that has the most deaths during its time. Okay, so next. This one is pretty scary. Okay, so number 5. During the boat's first test drive, the captain, okay, so yeah, we got the name of the captain here. It was Captain Lieutenant Martin Schell. He tried to resurface the submarine, but it would not rise. The reason why it sank to the bottom of the sea was because a fracture occurred in a ballast tank. So if you guys are not familiar with what a ballast tank is, it's a compartment within a boat or ship or everything that floats. So that compartment holds water for the necessary stabilization of ships. But in their U-boat, a fracture occurred in that very specific ballast tank. So yeah, seawater was seeping into the ship, obviously, and they reached the batteries and causing them to give off deadly fumes. Another deadly fumes. Okay, so with low level of oxygen, finally they managed to make the U-boat resurface after 12 hours, but the crew almost died from suffocation due to lacking any means of renewing oxygen in the vessel. After this very incident, the crew believed that this vessel was undoubtedly cursed. Okay guys, you guys might think that you heard a very scary incident, but you haven't heard the worst part. The real ghost story starts here. Number 6. So, the second officer, so the second in command, his name was Lieutenant Richter. He was killed when a torpedo exploded early in this U-boat's career when it was given an overhaul and reparation. Yeah, so what happens was this. Okay, so the U-boat, it got back for overhaul and reparation, but also resupplying itself with ammo and supplies, of course. Yeah, it needed the resupply, of course, right? But during the last load, one torpedo exploded. It killed 5 men, and one of them was Lieutenant Richter. So after this, the crew reported several sightings of this figure in the U-boat. The nickname for him is the Schwarz, or the Black, because of his darker complexion. So shortly after the explosion, a new crew was made due to them being short on crew number because of the explosion, of course. And during a roll call, an officer and a cadet claimed to see this Schwarz standing in the back, almost like a shadow. Hello? Are you guys still alive? Okay, we are not done yet. Okay, so there's actually one story when a man who was on the starboard lookout in search of enemy ships during 1918, just before a dive, he saw the infamous apparition of Lieutenant Richter. He screamed, of course, because he was so terrified, and his scream also alerted the captain, who came up to the tower, who also reported to witness the apparition of the second officer before it vanished. I can't help but to think that this lieutenant maybe didn't want to be left out, you know? Maybe he still want to be included in the crew. Like, I'm part of the crew. Why must I die before the real thing, you know? So yeah, it was pretty early in the career, so maybe it only a few weeks after the launch. So maybe he wasn't happy about that. It sounds wholesome? Oh really? Oh really? By the way, it is also reported that the ghost shouted some sort of warning to the witness before he disappeared. There's Wash. Okay, story number 7. When the U-boat was back again in port to undergo repairs, a crew member rushed to report that he had seen the ghost of the dead officer came on board, which was suspected to be the ghost of Lieutenant Richter as well, of course. Who else? He's the one and only Derschwarz. I'm sorry for my pronunciation. I cannot speak German. Okay, so the captain and the other crew members thought that maybe this man was hallucinating, but they went to investigate anyway because, well, investigating wouldn't hurt, right? Especially since there are a lot of ghost stories of them seeing Lieutenant Richter all the time. Okay, let's go check. Let's go check, they said. But when they arrived at the scene, they actually found another panicking seaman who also reported that he saw the said officer's ghost standing there up the gangplank for a good few seconds before vanishing. Okay, in case you don't know, a gangplank is a short bridge or a platform that can be placed between the side of a ship or a boat and the shore, so people can get on or off. Jadi kalau kalian nggak tahu, gangplank itu kayak jembatan yang dipasang di antara pintu masuk kapal buat apa penumpang sama sama tepinya, sama pesisir, sama kayak tepi deck gitu. Kalian pasti kalau yang pernah naik kapal pasti tahu deh kayak jalan di atas planknya gitu. Nah, itu gangplank tuh itu. And there are so many more of the ghost story if you look it up. Okay, so for example, there's a crew member that went crazy after he saw the apparition of Lieutenant Richter. Okay. And another member slipped and broke his leg. Another one got swept away by the wave. I think apparently there's a lot of crew members that got swept away by the wave or just hurled themselves into the sea without any reason. And so on. What drove them to jump into the sea? Who dragged them into the waves? Oh, by the way, don't get it wrong. The captain actually didn't encourage the ghost story at all. In fact, He did his utmost to try and discourage the stories, even imposing heavy punishments on those who dare speak of the ghost. But he failed. Especially after that one night when he saw the ghost of Little Richter with his own eyes. The reason why he discouraged the stories because he didn't want his man's moral to drop, you know, especially because of so many deaths that happened during their voyage or their mission. Yeah, it's pretty scary, right? But once again, okay, let us think for a little bit. Okay, it is said that the captain discouraged the stories, so no one could talk about this in front of him, or they will face heavy punishment, or even being transferred to other ships. Or even, but most of the punishments said to be a very big shaming, like you're being shamed for being afraid of ghosts, you know. Jadi kayak mereka tuh dikasih hukuman seberat-beratnya kalau berani ngomongin soal ada hantu gitu. Tapi kenapa mereka masih nekat mau ngomong? Berarti segitu seremnya kan? Berarti emang segitu banyaknya kan? It was affecting moral. No. There's such thing as a ghost. I definitely didn't see a ghost at all. Yup. Thank you for the line. Anyway, next. Yeah, because of these incidents, it cost the crew's moral. The amount of deaths caused by the incidents that happened in this boat sunk their moral, even though the submarine itself was doing pretty well in combat. The U-boat has now gained a reputation of being haunted, and no one wanted to board or be stationed on this ship. Of course! Why would they? Why would they? In their correct minds, even though they just, okay, it may be just a spooky rumor, but after so many deaths, I don't think I also want to board that ship as a crew member, of course. Or even get close to the U-boat, of course, even though it's so magnificent. Of course, I don't want to get close to it in case a torpedo accidentally explode, and it will be the chance of me being another ghost other than the Lieutenant Richter. Yeah, so if I was them, I also do not want to get close to this U-boat. Okay. So the German authorities sent another captain to investigate and take command. It actually happened because the previous captain actually got injured after a shell, he got injured by a shell fragment during an air raid. So when he got trapped during an air raid, and he did his best to run back to the submarine, to UB-65. So they were like apa sih namanya, mereka tuh kayak lagi menepi gitu loh. Ini submarine-nya tuh lagi menepi. Terus ya ceritanya si kapten yang lama ini nih, kapten yang lama dia tuh kayak ke bar dulu mau minum, ngerayain apa aku lupa. Terus dia kayak pas lagi mau balik ternyata ada air raid gitu. Terus pas dia udah deket di UB-65 ini, kakinya terluka karena kena apa, serpihan shell gitu loh, serpihan bom gitu. Yeah, so the story was the former captain got injured by a shell fragment during an air raid. So actually the submarine was on shore, and he was he went... I think he was going to a bar or something, and on his way back, he got an A raid was happening, and he was running back to enter the submarine. But when he finally got close to the submarine, a shell fragment got him in the leg. Okay. Okay, next. Okay, so that's why the German authorities sent another captain to investigate and take command. It was also as an attempt to stop the stories, and even this captain finally agreed with the crewmen after he did the investigation. He became convinced that the men of UB65 were actually telling the truth. Second captain to be spooked. 2-0 for the ghost. 2-0 buat hantunya. Oh, by the way, this captain also imposed harsh discipline on those who speak of the ghost. So, if you dare to speak of a ghost, I will punish you heavily. But the men still, if there's a ghost, I'm gonna say that there's a ghost. No single scary punishment can shut my mouth from telling the true story of the ghost. So maybe they think about it like that. Maybe, I don't know. Sorry for my bad reenactment. Okay. By the way, under his command, UB65 even completed 2 tours of duty without any incident. No incident? Why? Was it only a rumor that the submarine was being haunted? Or the ghost was just lying dormant? Yeah. So no incident during the 2 tours of duty until one day. In May 1918, UB65 was engaged in the task of patrolling the supply lines in the English Channel off of Spain. During the mission, several men reported on seeing Lieutenant Richter once again. Someone saw his ghost walking straight to the engine room. Another, who was a torpedo gunner, said that Lieutenant Richter has been harassing him for several nights in a row. He said that Lieutenant Richter would not leave him alone. This actually drove him mad, and the other crew members needed to restrain him most of the time. One day, when the submarine resurfaced to recharge its batteries, this man climbed out onto the upper deck and he jumped into the sea. He couldn't take it anymore. And it is believed that the German Imperial Navy called a pastor or a priest on board the ship to exorcise the ship. Now let me tell you the story about how UB65 met its end. It was July 31st, 1918. German Naval HQ received a report that the submarine was missing. According to official German naval records, the boat was presumed lost because of a premature explosion of one of her own torpedoes on July 10th, 1918, south of Irish coast, with the loss of all her 37 crew. Then, in the future, in United States Navy record, it was reported that the US submarine L2, whilst returning from patrol near Fastnet Rock, the captain observed something that looks like a buoy on the horizon. The name of the captain is Paul F. Foster. After moving closer, Captain Foster found out that, ooh, wow, it's actually a German submarine! Let's go, boys! Let's torpedo it! Woo! So, the excited captain and his excited crew, they got ready to shoot a torpedo to that sitting German U-boat on the water. But before he could shoot any torpedo, the vessel that already looked pretty disabled and just sitting there on the water waiting to be attacked, suddenly was torn apart by a huge explosion. It rose up on its bows and sank. There seemed to be no survivors or bodies on the water. And here's the fun part, everyone. Captain Forster reported that he saw a figure on the deck with its arms folded right before the explosion. And what is more interesting, he said, it was an officer with dark complexion. Have you guys got goosebumps yet? Okay, guys, time to ruin the fun. According to researchers George Behe and Michael Goss, the stories about the hauntings of UB65 might be invented by the journalist Hector Charles Bywater. So, Mr. Bywater was a British journalist and military writer during that time who wrote about the subject. So, Mr. George and Michael concluded that official documents make it extremely difficult to believe that UB65 was haunted. This rumor-like legend, in all its dramatic detail, cannot be traced back with any certainty before Hector. But which one do you believe? Which one do you believe? Was it actually hidden from the official report? Because who will make ghost stories to be included in an official report? Or was it just the fault of not very thorough investigation before the submarine got launched? Well, yeah, of course, nowadays we can say that the crewmen might just saw things because of the harsh life inside a small submarine during harsh time of war as well. Did they hallucinate? But if they are, why they kept saying one ghost only? Yeah, who knows? We don't know. Okay, now back to the history. Okay guys, now we're talking about the rediscovery. The recovery of the submarine. So for quite a long time, the wreck age of UB-65 could not be located. It remained a mystery, but during an expedition in 2004 by underwater archaeologists as part of Channel 4 Wreck Detectives underwater archaeological TV series, surveying a previously unidentified U-boat wreck that had been located earlier during a routine survey by the Royal Navy. They finally confirmed the identity of the unidentified U-boat wrecked as UB-65. Nautical archaeologist Ines McCartney and U-boat historian Dr. Axel Nisle concluded that all proof that the wreck was that of UB-65. So here are the proofs from the identification of design features such as the type of deck gun and also the identification numbers that were stamped on one of her propellers. So there's no mistake. The U-boat that they discover is UB-65. Okay, so after their observation, okay, listen carefully. There is no sign of being heavily damaged by a weapon attack. Though this cannot be ruled out as well, because if there was a depth charge attack, so just in case if you guys are not familiar with depth charge, so it's basically like a huge bomb. It looks kind of similar to the mine, to the underwater mine, but how it works is different. So mine would explode once it hits something, right? But the depth charge, they are set to explode after certain time. So after a certain minutes or something, they will explode. And the shock that was caused by the explosion, it could give a shock damage to the ship or any submarine nearby. Yeah, not sabotage, depth charge. Not sabotage. Guys know depth charge? Okay, I'm just gonna type it here. Usually, warships are equipped with this weapon. Okay? Yeah. So let me explain it once again. Depth charge is maybe to make it easy, maybe it's some kind of underwater bomb that will explode after a certain amount of time. So it's different from a mine. Mine, they will stay put and will only explode once something hits. Okay, but for the depth charge, it's like a ticking time bomb. Usually they will launch the depth charge once they detect it. Okay, so usually warships, they would launch a depth charge once they rather caught a submarine get closer to them. And after a certain amount of time, after they launch the depth charge, it will explode. And usually it will give shock damage to the submarines or any ships that was caught in the explosion. Okay? Yeah, create shock waves. Yeah. So from what McCartney and Mr. Nissel observed from the wreck age of UB-65, there is no sign of being heavily damaged from the outside. From the external examination, there isn't any damage from outside weapon attack. But this cannot be ruled out, because what if there was a depth charge attack? It could have given a shock damage, which could cause failure to internal seawater systems and hull penetration. And it's just, the time is important here. So if there was actually damage from a depth charge shock damage, maybe they're like waiting. Maybe they didn't realize that the ship was actually damaged, and it was slowly getting worse from the inside. And finally, the internal seawater systems failed. Yeah. And also, they also realized that the aft hatches, so it's like, to make it easy, it's basically an alternate safety or emergency exit for ship and boat and submarines. Yeah, they were open, indicating a possible attempt of one or more crew to escape from the vessel. But we don't know their fate. We don't know what became of them. Did they survive? Apparently not. Yeah, so after various thorough observations, along with historical observation, it was concluded that UB-65 was most likely lost through accidental causes on or after 14th July 1918, with all of her crew of 37 listed as lost. Sorry, a typo here. It's 37, not 27. No, it's not vanished. It's not vanished. It's sunk. And from these two last slides, we are talking about the wreckage. Wreckage means jasad kapal yang tenggelam. Itu. Oke, jadi biar gampang, Layla kasih tahu dalam bahasa Indonesia. Jadi tahun 2004 ada kayak acara apa sih, arkeolog di bawah laut gitu loh. Judulnya Wreck Detectives. Ini acara Inggris gitu. Jadi mereka tuh mau mencoba observasi sebuah jasad U-boat, jasad kapal selam yang waktu itu tidak teridentifikasi. Itu ditemukan oleh Royal Navy. Gitu ya. Jadi ceritanya di acara ini Wreck Detectives tuh mau mencoba mencari tahu ini identitas U-boat apa gitu. Nah, terus dari arkeologis laut Ines McCartney dan juga nautical apa ya, perlautan ya, arkeologis kelautan Ines McCartney dan juga historian sejarawan spesialis U-boat, spesialis kapal selam Jerman, Dr. Axel Nissel. Akhirnya mereka mendapatkan konklusi ini dari bukti-bukti yang ditemukan. Jadi identifikasi dari apa ya, fitur desainnya, contohnya kayak deckgun bahasa Indonesia kayak apa ya? Kalau kapal perang, kalian pasti pernah lihat kayak ada senapan-senapannya yang bisa nembak, yang buat kayak anti-aircraft gun gitu ya di atas kapalnya. Ya mirip kayak gitu gitu. Di deck gun tuh maksudnya kayak senjata yang ada di atas deck, yang ada di atas geladaknya gitu. Dia tipenya tuh cocok sama tipe-tipe yang dipakai sama Class 3 waktu itu. Terus yang bikin tambah yakin itu nomor identifikasi yang distempel di salah satu propellernya U-boat ini. Oh, ini nomor identifikasinya cocok. Ini nomor buat UB65. Ya udah berarti dia UB65 gitu. Ya AA gun. Ya tapi kalau kita ngomong AA gun doang ya mereka ya, anti aircraft gun. Kalau yang nggak ngerti juga. Jadi gampangnya kita bilang senjata yang ada di atas kapalnya gitu. Kalau kalian ngomong AA gun doang, kalau nggak ada yang ngerti juga ya sama aja bohong guys. Yeah, it's over 90 years. So hard to tell. But so glad that I finally identified her. She's not alone anymore. Now she's famous. She's famous. Who damaged her though? We don't know. We don't know. Maybe he was in a combat? You know, because she encountered lots of ships. Okay, so from the earliest slides here, okay, she sailed on 6 war patrols. Okay, and to remind you again, her active service time was in World War I. It's World War, guys. She could be damaged by anyone. Just like I mentioned earlier, if there was a depth charge attack, maybe not purposely. Okay, how to English? Okay, so she might not be purposefully got attacked by a certain warship. Maybe she was in a combat, you know, with a whole other ships. And where she swam, where she go through, there was a depth charge ready to be exploded. And she passed through that water. And she got hit by the shockwave. Maybe after the combat, she went back to the port for the external examination. But just like the historian said, if it was a depth charge attack, the shock damage will not give any obvious external damage, but it would give failure to the internal systems, which can be missed by human eyes because it looked okay. It looks fine. It looked fine. So until now, we don't know what caused its end, but it was concluded that it was most likely lost through accidental causes. Maybe one of the torpedo exploded. Maybe there was a failure in the internal system. You don't know. It's just written as accidental causes. Yeah, Captain Paul F. Foster didn't see any bodies or survivors on the water. Yep. Yeah, this is the record from the enemy side. This is the last time it was seen. It's the last time it was seen. Okay, so once more for this story, okay? In the United States Navy record, it was reported that the US submarine named L2, whilst returning from the patrol, the captain observed something that looks like a buoy on the horizon. After moving closer, Captain Foster found out that it was actually a German submarine. They wanted to torpedo it. They were so excited because it was a sitting duck. The vessel already looked pretty disabled. It was just sitting there quietly on the water. But before the captain and his excited crewmen shoot any torpedo, the vessel, the submarine, was torn apart by a huge explosion. That was the last time it was seen. He also reported that there's no bodies or survivors on the water. He only saw a figure with a dark complexion on the deck with its arms folded right before the explosion. The depth charge record, I mean. Well, you know, of course, it's okay. It will be pretty hard, it will be pretty hard to record a depth charge attack, for example, because usually it's being used to attack a submarine if they saw something on the radar. Usually warships drop the depth charge just in case there are submarines that they are going to attack them. Of course, they couldn't see what type of submarine is this. The warship couldn't even think to it's time to identify what is the name of this U-boat. They will just, it's German U-boat. Drop the depth charge. Drop everything. We don't want to die. Of course they wouldn't know. It's really hard to get a depth charge attack record, of course. Why would you ask that? Ya, jadi gitu. Kayak apa namanya? Susah sih kalau misalnya mau cari recordnya depth charge itu. Ya, kayak ya semuanya itu bahaya ya, kita drop aja. Aku udah nggak mau tahu lagi lah itu submarine nomor berapa. Yang penting akunya nggak mati gitu kan. And please remember that this was on World War I. I don't think the radar was that advanced during this time, or is it even not invented yet? Okay, let me see. Ship radar during World War. Which World War is it? Okay. I didn't even understand. Okay. Okay, so radar was even first being used in ships on 1942. It's in the freaking World War II, not even World War I. So how will they identify the submarine? That's why they wouldn't have any record. They'll just Okay, so maybe let's just think about it. The warships didn't have any radar back in World War I. It just got developed for the ships on 1942. They start using it in 1942, which is in World War II. So basically they will just drop the depth charges without thinking that identify a submarine. No. Yeah, sonar was World War I. Yeah, radio, of course, radio. They already communicated with radio. Sonar ya, berarti in World War I it's sonar. Yeah, the sonar. No radar, sonar. Yeah, so... Yeah, just like I said. No way to identify a single submarine. They only saw, something looks hostile. Time to drop the depth charges. Let's go. That's why U-boats were so scary. Sonar wasn't advanced at that time as well. Okay, so yeah, that's all about the story of UB65. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed the scary story. Now I'm imagining the US captain get up on deck, staring by squinting his eyes to the weird buoy, and then just go, "Alright boys, it's U-boat." It is said that he lifted his binoculars. Dia pakai itu kok, apa namanya, teropong. Kayak ngelihat apa tuh yang ambang-ambang, ambil teropong. Oh, submarine guys. Gitu. They would identify subs with spotters to see if it was friendly or not, using maps or cross-rafts of the conning towers. Ah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for telling us about it. But they just they only were able to identify the subs if they're friendly or hostile, right? Not like identifying if it's a specific type of submarine, right? Because the point is, there is no way of recording which submarine that got damaged by the depth charges that they dropped. Yeah, that's the point that I wanted to point out. They can only identify that the hostile submarine was coming, right? Not the it was more marking state C. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much, guys, for listening to the story. I hope you guys enjoyed the scary story for today. I will end the stream now. And see you later on my next stream. Layla Alstroemeria, bubar jalan.